Yo, what's up guys, it's xRayz. Welcome back to another Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies video. Huge video today, just absolutely massive. We're going to be talking about a post that was put on Reddit where someone claimed to be a developer for Treyarch, someone who actually ended up leaving midway through the development of the new map that we're seeing, Shadows of Evil. So I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into the post. It was a really long one. He details a lot about Shadows of Evil and just lets us know more information behind the development and also just general information. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you do, leave a like, leave a favorite. Let's try to get this video out there. I think I might be one of the first people to report on this, so make sure to leave a like. And of course, if you are new, if you want to stay up to date with all the Black Ops 3 news, information, and leaks, then make sure to subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. It is a ton of information. I'm going to try to read this as quickly as I can. I'm reading it from the point of view of this developer, who, by the way, his name is Ascension is Key. Ascension. I don't know, man. Maybe something to do with Ascension, but let's go ahead and jump straight into it. I was a part of the original Zombies team all the way back in World at War. I dealt heavily with the conceptual aspects of the maps as well as lore and QA. Zombies has really become something near and dear to my heart. I am no longer employed at Treyarch, but I still love Zombies. Shadows of Evil is truly something special, and that's coming from someone involved with the development of almost all the previous zombie maps. This is not a leak. I just want to shed some light into the development and existence in what has been the best creation out of the Zombies team. Shadows of Evil had a fairly long development cycle. It's the most detailed and feature-rich map Treyarch has ever dared create. The basic idea for the map goes all the way back to DLC 3 of Black Ops 2, basically Mob of the Dead. The map has changed a great deal since then, but the initial idea of having an open world city setting was what stuck. Now before I go any deeper, I want to make clear that I never saw the map out of an extremely early pre-alpha phase. Everything I'm about to say are conceptual ideas, things that may or may not be in the final game build. Some features may change slightly. Zombie programmers are rather fickle-minded and therefore tend to change things last minute, but for the most part I am relatively confident that the final product will be something along the lines of what I'm about to describe. The core gameplay mechanics we wanted to explore and create were true next-gen map design, great storytelling and depth, different while still being familiar, fusion of noir and goth, standout cast, and an immense open world. The new hardware gave us much more room to work with. We could finally stay true to the concept without having to make compromises. This was huge for the team, since before we were always grounded to reality by the devs because of hardware limitations. We could finally make the map of our dreams, and that's what we did. Thanks to the upgraded hardware, we were able to develop a true open world. The size and scope of the map is comparable to some of the open worlds that constitute entire games. It's absolutely massive, and thanks to the 3-year development cycle, we were able to meticulously scrutinize every polygon of the game's reality. Everything in Shadows of Evil is thought out. Everything is there for a reason, and it all makes sense. This leads me to the next point: great storytelling and depth. Thanks to the popularity of Mob of the Dead, both internally and at Treyarch and externally at the actual DLC sales, we wanted to make something similar. Shadows of Evil exists in a different bubble than Mob of the Dead, but they're unmistakably connected. The entire map is self-sustained, meaning this particular chapter starts and finishes in the same map. The crew will only be along for this map, and no future DLC is planned directly continuing this storyline. We really wanted to tell a fully thought out story in one offering. The general story is amazing, not only in the obvious things, but also in how it ties to the overall story Treyarch has been telling for the past 8 years. I can't reveal too many details, but what I can say is that you'll be glad you weren't spoiled. The story is perfectly fused with gameplay and is truly something unique. In Zombies, there are many branching storylines that are connected, but that divert in some ways from one another. Like Origins diverts from the normal continuum of Zombies, a storyline that has a blown up Earth. We wanted to do something similar with Shadows of Evil. This storyline is very similar to Mob of the Dead in this sense. It's sort of connected to everything else, but really it's its own thing. So don't go in expecting Origins or Moon in terms of the backstory. The team wanted to make something new that stood on its own, and in terms of story, it's just that. Another thing we wanted was change, but it was made very clear that we had to be careful. Zombies made it obvious that change could be counterproductive. In fact, the vast majority of the Treyarch team despised what Neversoft did with Zombies. This established that we wanted the core gameplay to stay intact, and only then would we add features. Shadows of Evil is feature-filled, but the core mechanics are the same. There are no advanced movement, although we did toy with the idea for a while, and the gameplay is still 100% linear. For a while we scrapped the idea. This is definitely a narrative and some objective-oriented gameplay, but that's totally up to the discretion of the player. Although we wanted familiarity, change is definitely present. There is a whole new perk-like dynamic in the game. Pack-a-Punch is reimagined, and buildables are much more central to gameplay along with other things. There's also hearkened change in the aesthetic. The map is vibrant, and the colors really pop out despite being set at night. There aren't just zombies in the map, there's also a lot of fantastical creatures and objects that look like a goth's wet dream. The characters and architecture are definitely noir. Another aspect of the map we wanted to get just right were the characters. Black Ops 2 had a very low appeal with fans in terms of the execution. In fact, there was a management change within the team in large part due to the dialogue writing and unexciting, shallow characters. I think this might be a reference to Jimmy Zelensky actually leaving Treyarch. We wanted to make sure that we had them right, and having talent involved with this was what we needed. A large part of the dialogue writing was outsourced, and the higher-ups wanted a celeb cast to help drive pre-orders, so we hired some talented actors that could nail the part. Each actor had a role, there were no filler characters, and thanks to the extra time in the development, we were able to add huge depth to the characters. Each one had their motives and purpose. Perhaps the biggest aspect of Shadows of Evil is the open world. It's absolutely immense. It's definitely larger than Green Run, only that every single part of the map is explorable. There's also a large subterranean area. The scope is absolutely massive, and the amount of detail is unparalleled in Zombies. There will probably be Easter eggs people will be discovering years after the release of the game. Not only are there large-scale side quests, but there's also small Easter eggs like in World at War days. A few things I'd like to point out before I conclude this post are, Shadows of Evil is another storyline, but the origin story will be continued. DLC was conceptualized by the time I left Treyarch, meaning it's probably in heavy post-development by now. The Giant, the remake of Derice, is a remake, not a remaster, meaning the map layout is the same, but virtually everything else has changed. The characters are the same ones from Origins, younger versions of the original 4, and the map side quests essentially combine the Origin storyline with the whole blown-up Earth storyline. Think Terminator Genesis in the way they essentially create a new storyline from a pre-existing one. The internal name for Shadows of Evil was actually SFT, which stood for Sorry for Transit, I'm not kidding. I have no knowledge of the new zombie ranking system other than the fact that it exists. The reason being that the multiplayer team actually worked on that, since our last attempt at zombie ranking systems could be considered far from perfect. There was some talk that the Giant remake was made to be able to re-release older remade maps. Since the new Origins crew will have to undo what happened, they'll have to visit earlier maps, therefore creating a canon excuse to release old maps. All in all, Shadows of Evil is nothing short of a masterpiece. It is a zombie map for non-Call of Duty players and will inevitably garner a new generation of zombie players, and if you don't believe me, just wait until November 6th. I hope you guys found this post enlightening. And then after that, he actually put a little bit of an update on the bottom. Oh, and one more thing, and you guys can see this image on screen. He put these numbers, 199-199-195, which if you subtracted equals 115, with another little image that was a code that you guys can see on screen. Basically, if you decipher this like I did, it says the element will be found in the coordinates below. The key is subtraction. So then he puts those other codes on the bottom, 170.0208 and 168.8656, which gives us the coordinates 29.9792 and 31.1344, which if you look it up on Google is actually the coordinates for the Pyramid of Giza. So a lot of information, guys, a lot to take in, but hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. A ton of information. I'm going to try to cut this down to only the bare essentials. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a favorite. It does get the content out there, helps the channel grow.